Hello students, in this video we are going to study the remaining part of this chapter 4. The chapter name is Materials, Metals and Non-Metals. Class 8, Subject Science, NCERT. So before starting that, let me recall what we had learned in the previous videos of this chapter. So in the starting we had seen examples of metals and non-metals. So iron, copper, aluminium, nickel, zinc, gold, silver, etc. are metals. Other than this, sodium, potassium, magnesium and calcium are also metals. In the examples of non-metals, we had seen carbon, sulfur and phosphorus etc. are solid non-metals. They are in solid form. Whereas oxygen, hydrogen and nitrogen etc. are gaseous non-metals. So these are the examples of metals and non-metals. Then we had seen physical properties of metals and non-metals. So in the physical properties of metals, first we had seen malleability. So metals can be hammered into thin sheets. That means metals are malleable. Next property we had seen about metals is they are good conductors of heat and electricity. Next property of metal is ductility. So metals can be drawn into thin wires. We can make thin wires from the metals. So that's why metals are ductile. Then we had seen that metals are sonorous. That means they produce ringing sound when they beaten. Next property of metal is they have shiny surface, or we can say they have lusters. So metals has shiny surface. The next property we had seen that metals are hard. But some exceptions are also there with sodium, potassium and lead. So these are the different physical properties of metals that we had already seen. Then after we had seen physical properties of non-metals. So non-metals break into pieces on hammering. Next property, physical property of non-metals is they are bad conductors of heat and electricity. There is also one exception, that is with graphite. That graphite is non-metal, however it is the good conductor of electricity. Next physical property of non-metallic materials is they cannot be drawn into thin wires. We cannot make thin wires from non-metallic materials. Next is non-metals are non-sonorous, and then after last property, physical properties of non-metal is they are soft and dull in appearance. So these are the physical properties of non-metals. Then we had seen chemical properties of metals and non-metals. So in the chemical properties of metals, we had seen that metals react with oxygen to form metallic oxides. And these metallic oxides are basic in nature. Next, we had seen the reaction of metals with water. So metals react with water slowly. But also there is some exception with sodium metal. So sodium metal reacts with water very vigorously or fastly, rapidly. So that's why we store the sodium metal in the kerosene or oil. Then we had seen the reaction with acid. So metals react with acid to liberate, or you can say to release, hydrogen with pop sound. But copper does not react with dilute hydrochloric acid. And at the end, we had seen the reaction of metals with bases. So metal react with base to produce hydrogen gas. So these are the chemical properties of metals. The next we had seen the chemical properties of nonmetals. In that first we had seen that nonmetals react with oxygen to form nonmetallic oxides and which are acidic in nature. Then we had seen that generally nonmetals do not react with water. But one non-metallic substance, that is phosphorus, it reacts with air and it reacts rapidly with air. So it catches fire if it is exposed to air. So phosphorus is stored in water. And generally non-metals do not react with acid. So these are the chemical properties of non-metals. These things up till we had seen in this chapter. Now in this video we are going to see the displacement reaction. What is this displacement reaction? One activity for this displacement reaction, and at the end the uses of metals and non-metals. So let me start with the displacement reaction. So recall the activity of the reaction between copper sulfate and iron that you had already performed in your class 7. And now let us observe some more reaction of that kind. So before observing this activity, let me first see what is the displacement reaction. So that is the displacement reaction, in which one metal displaces another metal from its compound in its aqueous solution or from its liquid solution. So now let we see our next activity, which is based on this displacement reaction, that is activity 4.8. For that we have to take 500 milliliter of beakers and label them A, B, C, D and E. Then after take about 50 milliliter of water in each beaker and dissolve in each beaker a teaspoonful of each substance as indicated in figure 4.6a. And after adding this, keep the beakers undisturbed for some time and record your observation in your notebook. So first let we see what we have to add in these beakers. So here in the figure 5 beakers are shown to you. In the first beaker, beaker A and beaker B, we are keeping the solution of copper sulfate. In the beaker C and beaker E, we are pouring the solution of zinc sulfate, that is ZnSO4. And beaker D, we are pouring the solution of iron sulfate, that is FeSO4. So after pouring these solutions, we have to add, first in beaker A, we have to add zinc granules or the zinc metal. So in beaker A, we have to add zinc metal, that is Zn. Then after in beaker B, we have to add iron nails, that is iron metal, that means Fe. In beaker C and beaker D, we have to add copper turnings or copper metal. And in the last beaker, that is beaker E, we have to add again iron nails, that is iron metal Fe. And after adding this all, we have to keep this beaker undisturbed for some time, and then after we have to observe that what reaction take place in these beakers. So here, as in the figure, it is shown to you in the next figure. In the first two beakers, that is in beaker A and beaker B, the color of the solution get changed, and we can see in the first beaker that copper is accumulated at the bottom of the beaker, and in the beaker we will find the solution of zinc sulfate, that is ZnSO4. And in the beaker B, we will find the solution of iron sulfate, that is FeSO4. So first let we see what we have to add in these beakers. So here it is given to you that in beaker A, first we are pouring copper sulfate solution, that is CuSO4, and then after we are adding zinc metal, that is zinc granules, small bowls of the zinc metal. Then after in beaker B, we are adding copper sulfate, that is CuSO4, and with that we are dissolving iron nails, that is Fe. In beaker C, we are pouring the solution of zinc sulfate, that is ZnSO4, and in that we are adding copper turnings or copper metal, that is Cu. In beaker D, we are pouring the solution of iron sulfate, that is FeSO4, and in that we are adding the copper turnings or copper metal. And in the last beaker, beaker E, we are pouring the solution of zinc sulfate, that is ZnSO4, and in that we are adding the iron nails, that means iron metal Fe. So now let we see this activity. Take 5 beakers and name them A to E. Then pour copper sulfate in beaker A and B, and put zinc granules in beaker A and iron fillings in beaker B. Then pour zinc sulfate in beaker C and E, and put copper turnings in beaker C and iron fillings in beaker E. Then pour ferrous sulfate in beaker D, And then after add copper turnings in beaker D and observe the reaction. You will observe that in beaker A, zinc replaces copper from copper sulfate solution and the color of the solution get changed. And in beaker B, you will notice that iron replaces copper sulfate solution to form iron sulfate, and there is the no reaction in beaker C, D and E. So from the activity we have to answer that what changes do you observe in the various beakers. So as in the activity we had seen that in beaker A, zinc replaces copper from the copper sulfate solution and the blue color of the solution disappears and a red powdery mass of copper that is settled at the bottom of the beaker. And in beaker B, we had seen that iron replaces copper sulfate solution to form iron sulfate and a red powdery mass of copper settles on the iron nail. So these are the observation, and from this activity we can conclude that a displacement reaction took place in the beaker A and B, whereas no displacement reaction took place in beakers C, D and E. So here it is also given to you that as we had read already that one metal displaces another metal from its compound in its aqueous, that means in its liquid solution. So this process is known as the displacement reaction. And in beaker A, zinc replaces copper from the copper sulfate. So that is why blue color of the copper sulfate solution disappears and the powdery red mass of the copper is deposited at the bottom of the beaker. And at the end we will get the solution of zinc sulfate in the beaker A. And the reaction can be represented as follows. Here the equation for this reaction is also given to you, that first we had taken the solution of copper sulfate in the beaker A. So we had taken CuSO4. Then after we had added the granules of zinc or zinc metal. So plus zinc, that means Zn. And first earlier the color of the solution was blue. That is the color of copper sulfate. And after the reaction, after some time, the zinc replaces this copper, so it will become zinc sulfate, that is ZnSO4. So the color will get changed because the zinc sulfate is colorless and the copper will release, or you can see the copper will accumulated or deposited at the bottom of the beaker. So we will get red mass or red powdery copper at the bottom of the beaker. So this is the equation for this reaction, that is copper sulfate plus zinc will give you a zinc sulfate plus copper. And you can also write down the reaction taking place in beaker B in the similar manner. That will be in the beaker B, earlier we had taken CuSO4, copper sulfate and iron. So CuSO4 plus Fe, and earlier the color of the solution was blue, and at the end of the reaction we will get the solution of iron sulfate, that means iron will replace the copper and it will become iron sulfate, that is FeSO4, and we will get the green color solution which is the color of iron sulfate, and copper will release, so we will find the copper, red color copper which is deposited on the iron nails. So that is the equation for the reaction in beaker B. Here now Paheli has some question. I have understood the reaction that is taking place in beaker A and B, but I am still confused why there is no change in beaker C, D and E. So now let me find why the reaction does not take place in the beaker C, D and E. So there could have been displacement of zinc by copper in beaker C and by iron in beaker E. Similarly, iron could be displaced by copper in beaker D. But this does not happen. So Paheli wonder that why the reaction does not take place in the beaker C, D and E. So since we do not see any change in beaker C, we can infer that copper is not able to replace zinc from the zinc sulfate that is in beaker C. We had taken the solution of zinc sulfate and we had add the copper turnings. So copper could not be able to displace zinc from the zinc sulfate. So but why the copper is not able to displace the zinc? So when zinc can replace the copper in beaker A, so why cannot copper replace zinc in beaker C? So now remember that science is not arbitrary or science is not random. Some rules are there. So let me now see what is the rules. So it follows definite rules based on the facts. And the rule here is that the zinc is more reactive than copper and iron. Zinc is more reactive. It will react faster than copper and iron. And a more reactive metal can replace a less reactive metal. That means a zinc can replace copper and iron. But as the zinc is more reactive, copper and iron cannot replace or displace the zinc. But a less reactive one cannot replace a more reactive metal. Now you can understand why there is no displacement reaction in beaker D and E also. As in the beaker D we had taken iron sulfate and in that we had added copper turning. So copper could not be able to displace or replace the iron. And in beaker E we had taken zinc sulfate and we had added iron nails. So in that also iron nails or iron metal could not be able to displace the zinc. So that is why in beaker D and E also the displacement reaction does not take place. So now can you guess the sequence of metals from more reactive to less reactive among zinc, iron and copper? So here also the answer is already given to you. Zinc is more reactive, so it is more reactive than the iron and copper. Then after the less than the zinc is iron and at the end it's a copper. So here the less reactive metal is copper. Then after iron is more reactive than the copper but it is less reactive than the zinc. And between these three metals, zinc is the more reactive metal than the other two, that is other iron and copper. So this is the reactivity series for these three metal, and other than this metal there is also one reactive series for the metals, and in the descending order it's about potassium. That is potassium is more reactive than the all other metals. Then after sodium, then calcium, magnesium, aluminium, zinc, iron, lead, copper, mercury, silver and at the end gold. Gold is less reactive metal amongst all the other metals. So this is the reactivity series of metals, and depending on this, one metal can be replaced the another metal according to their reactivity. So this is the displacement reaction. Now we will see next topic, that is uses of metals and non-metals. So next is uses of metals and non-metals. So you should be able to guess now why metals are used in making machineries, automobiles, aeroplanes, trains, satellites, industrial gadgets, cooking utensils, water boilers, etc. So as we had seen all the physical and chemical properties of metals, so because of these properties, the metals are used in these different various uses. Now you are also familiar with the uses of some non-metals, and here are some interesting ones. Uses are given to you. I'm sure that you will guess them right. You will guess the name from the uses of that substance. So first is given to you that non-metal is essential for our life, which all living beings inhale during breathing. What we are inhaling, that substance is non-metal, so the answer for this is oxygen, or you can say O2. We are inhaling oxygen while breathing, and oxygen is the non-metallic substance and it is essential for our life or all the living beings. So yeah, here the first use of oxygen is given to you. Next is non-metals used in fertilizers to enhance the growth of plants. So here it is given to you the non-metal which we are using in fertilizers and which helps to enhance or to improve the growth of the plants. So the answer for that is the nitrogen and phosphorus. Nitrogen and phosphorus, most of the fertilizers are based on the nitrogen and phosphorus compounds and which are non-metallic substance, and it improves the growth of the plants and improves the soil fertility or the soil texture. Next is non-metal used in water purification process. So for that we are using chlorine. As we had earlier already seen, the chlorine tablets and powders are also there. We are using these tablets for the water purification process or for the water purification purpose, and chlorine is the non-metallic substance. Next is non-metal that is used in purple color solution which is applied on wounds as an antiseptic. So here your answer is iodine. Iodine is applied on the wounds as an antiseptic and its solution is of purple color. Next use is non-metals used in crackers. So we are using, or the factories are using sulfur in the crackers, and sulfur is non-metallic substance. So these all are the uses of non-metals. Now you may add some more uses of the metals and non-metals from your experience also. So here the uses of non-metals are given to you. So now Paheli and Bourgeois has one question. That Paheli, let me first see the question of Paheli. That I heard that magnesium is found in plants. So now in what form is it found in them? Paheli know that magnesium is found in the plants, but magnesium is present in the plants in what form? So plant take up magnesium in its ionic form, that means Mg+2. It is taking the ionic form of the magnesium, and which is the form of dissolved magnesium in the soil, which is already present in the dissolved form of magnesium with the soil. So plant taking the magnesium in this way. Now Bourgeois has question that doctor reported iron deficiency in my body. Now where is iron in my body? So Bourgeois has the question, where is the iron in our body? So about 70% of our body's iron is found in the red blood cells of our blood called the hemoglobin. In our blood, in the red blood cells, 70% of our body's iron is found in the red blood cells, and it is known as the hemoglobin. And other than this, in the muscle cells also the iron is found. So this is where the magnesium, how the magnesium is taken by the plants is given to you, and where the iron is there in our body is also given to you. So now here let me check. In class 6 you have learned that in a chemical reaction new substances are formed, and these substances are different from those which underwent the reaction. And now if the substance cannot be broken down further by the chemical reaction by cooling, heating or by electrolysis, then it is called elements. So as we had seen that from the solution of copper sulfate we can break them and iron can replace the copper sulfate. So iron can take the place of copper, so it will become the iron sulfate, but we cannot break the copper by the process of cooling, heating or electrolysis. So that substance is known as the element, and the sulfur is the element. So is iron, carbon, 2 is an element. So these are the examples of elements, the substance which we cannot break into further by the process of heating, cooling or electrolysis. So those kind of substances are known as the element. And the smallest unit of an element is an atom. A sample of an element contains only one kind of atom. So if we are taking the element of sulfur, so it has only one kind of atoms are present in them. So the smallest unit of an element is an atom. The atom of an element remains unaffected by the physical changes in the element. The examples is given to you. An atom of liquid sulfur would be exactly same as the atom of the solid or vapor sulfur. It will not change according to its physical state. It will remain the same as the element is sulfur is same. Although we have an infinite variety of substance in the universe, the number of elements forming this substance is limited. The number of elements is limited and the substance which are formed by the combination or reaction of this element is unlimited in the infinite in this universe. There are no more than 94 naturally occurring elements. The around number of these naturally occurring elements is given to you. It's around 94. An important classification of element is in the terms of metals and non-metals. We had seen the metals and non-metals. So these elements are basically classified in the metals and non-metals. And most of the elements are metals. The remaining are either non-metals or metalloids. So the remainings are non-metals, or you can say also metalloids. The metalloids possesses the character or characteristics of both metals and non-metals. So we are classifying the elements basically into two parts, that is metals and non-metals, and some other elements are known as the metalloids. The metalloids means the elements which possesses the characteristics of both metals and non-metals. So this is all about metals and non-metals. So now let me quickly recall what we had learned in this chapter. So metals are lustrous, whereas non-metals have no luster. Generally metals are malleable and ductile. What is this? We had already seen. Non-metals do not have this kind of properties. Generally, the metals are good conductors of heat and electricity, but non-metals are poor conductor of heat and electricity. Then we had seen on burning, metals react with oxygen to produce metal oxides, and which are basic in nature, whereas non-metals react with oxygen to produce non-metallic oxides, and which are acidic in nature. Then we had seen some metals react with water to produce metal hydroxide and hydrogen gas, and generally non-metals do not react with water. Then we had seen the reaction with acids and base. So metals react with acid to produce, and it produces metal salts and hydrogen gas, and generally non-metals do not react with acids. Some metals react with bases to produce hydrogen gas. Then we had seen displacement reaction, in which we had seen more reactive metals displace less reactive metals from their compounds in aqueous solution. And metals and non-metals are used widely in our everyday life. So these are the things we had learned in this chapter. In the next video, we will see the keywords and exercise or textbook solution for this chapter 4. Thank you.